crack into this. Cool. So, welcome to Yelling at Concrete podcast. We've got Nathan Dean with us today, which
hello.
We're going with a little concept today, which I'm quite liking. That we've never met.
No.
We're aware of each other. We exist in the same universe, but we've never met. So this is literally the first time we've spoken in person.
Yeah, our Venn diagrams of people
Yeah. There's
are
a lot of
lots of sharing, but
Yeah.
we've never shared the same space at the same time.
Yeah. So
why not make the first conversation recorded, which is
exactly.
wicked.
So it's kind of like a weird little podcast blind date, but not a blind date because we're aware of each other. We know what we do. I mean, because my first question is always how long we've known each other, which is obviously it's like
how long have we been going?
maybe 5-10 minutes. Oh, it's a minute
A
according to this.
minute according to that, but
There was an introduction,
making
obviously.
coffee.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a nice little mix going on. Though I give most people like a job title.
Okay.
I think I'm fairly safe in saying that you're a writer.
Yeah. My sort of field of the things that I do is I have a title name called Art Isn't Sexy, which is essentially my theatre company and my method of connecting the dots between lots of different artistic communities and that kind of thing. So anything from writer, director, producer, even though I hate doing it, but I always end up doing it, curator, that kind of thing. Okay. So lots of pretentious words.
Of course.
Yeah. Is me.
It's that true avoidance of trying to call yourself an auteur. Just I could just throw a bunch of titles on here because I've kind of done a bit of everything. And
if I say enough words, then my business card's got enough on it to look like I know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then all is well. Yeah.
That works. That works out quite nicely. So how long have you done Art is Sexy?
Art Isn't Sexy's been going for about a year and a bit.
Okay.
We did a production at the drill hall in the room upstairs. I had applied for a marketing position at Frequency Festival for that year, and they didn't give me it. Right. But what they did do is they said, you've got lots of energy and you're doing lots of really cool stuff. The room upstairs is sometimes empty when there's stuff going on in the rest of the building. And essentially they're just powering this building, this room, for no reason. So I said, I'll put stuff on in there. I think they expected me to put on a musician or a chalk or to some people in there or something along those lines. And it ended up, I wrote a play, got the cast, directed it, and got it all done in about 2 months, maybe a little bit longer. And that was called Art Isn't Sexy. And was about artists struggling to be artists and the bits about it which aren't great. So people want poets to be lounging on chaise lounges, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes and doing that, but there's also doing your self-assessment tax after you've self-published your books and things like that, and no one wants to talk about it. And then when I walked out, there was a guy on the front desk called Andy Farrandon, and I said to him, I'm fed up, I need a producer, I can't do anything. I'm doing everything and it's driving me mad. And he went, oh, well, I'll help on the next one. And then we did another one called Room Service, and then from that point onwards, Art Isn't Sexy's become this fixed thing, and I'm just making as much stuff as I can all the time with as many cool people as I can find.
I mean, that's not a bad way to live, really. That's essentially why I tried to do, but then I haven't got out of the habit of doing everything on my own yet.
Yeah.
Because I can... It's one of those things of I'd rather torture myself doing everything on my own. I'd love to hand stuff off. Yeah. But it's finding people with the same kind of level of enthusiasm as you, and you're like, all right, so I could hand this off to someone else, but I don't really want to chase them at the same time.
It's the hardest
bit.
Yeah,
you're just like, all right, no.
That's the bit of producing that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
The constant chasing and making people feel enthused.
I'd love to have an assistant. That'd be the best thing in the world.
I was at Coffee Aroma the other day, and this guy was looking for a job, and he said, can I be your personal assistant? And I said, for what? I have no money to give anyone in that. You can be my personal assistant for free, and you can be there. So if anyone wants to do that, go for it.
You just be an enthusiastic intern. Just come along to literally everything I'm doing every time, and that's how we'll live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing particularly
That's how
wrong
everything's run today in the world.
Yeah, I think Frequency's coming back to Lincoln.
It is October.
Yeah, October. I had quite a kind of a similar experience with them. Not that I'd applied for something, but I just kind of got snowballed into stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
I think it was like not the last one; it was the one before that. And I'd wanted to put some into the festival. Essentially, I wanted to like submit some work or whatnot, but I had nothing digital because I hadn't been doing digital work at the time. Because I'd been focused on illustration and bits and bobs like that. So I ended up doing like all the videography for the entire event and just capturing everything and documenting everything. And it was like one of those weird little moments of for a week I'm just going to run everywhere with a camera on my shoulder and just photograph and film everything.
Yeah.
And I think they have a habit of that.
First frequency that I did, I was writing a story to go with it. So
Yeah.
every event, I was allowed to go see any event. I wasn't paid.
Yeah.
But I could, like, if I said, basically it was like, I'm press.
Yeah.
But rather than writing a press article, it was a narrative to go with it, inspired by what was happening. But I only knew the beginning and the end of the story. I didn't know what happened in the middle, so I had to make up each chapter as each day went on.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting experience. But I'd love to do something full on for frequency.
I think that practically every year, and then it comes around too quickly, and I think I've forgotten to actually apply.
Yeah, we applied this year, but we didn't get in for this one, which was. But Barry and Osmo, who run it, they're great. But it was a shame I didn't get in this time.
I distinctly remember having a conversation with Barry where I was trying to figure out how to get into art, like the industry sort of thing, and he was just like, just keep making things, regardless of what you're doing. Just keep making things, and eventually something will get picked up.
Has Barry been on this?
No, he hasn't. Well, this is the thing. Like, I'm gradually bringing everyone in, and with frequency coming, I'm like, I could probably just hijack half of frequency.
How did you meet Barry then?
I'm again through the videography stuff. I'd essentially, because I like with you, I had an all access pass. I could go anywhere and do anything. I went to all the shows for free and never wanted for anything essentially. Yeah. Apart from time and sleep. So it was one of those.
It'd be interesting if it was the same one.
Maybe.
Was Trope on during that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trope was on during that.
Yeah. So we were running around the same ones.
This is interesting though, because it's like we were saying, we have these overlapping friend groups. I was aware of you before at friend groups.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you at things.
Yeah.
And you have quite a distinct look, so it's quite easy to spot you in a crowd. But because I've been in Lincoln for, I think I figured out about 9 years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've seen you, but I never knew who you were. And then obviously I met Charlotte, and then that kind of like merged into everything else.
Yeah.
And that kind of evolved from there. But yeah, I'm just gradually bringing everyone on the podcast.
Yeah, do it. Get everyone on this. Like, this one's lovely because there's like coffee and all of this. But I did one recently for Dan Brown.
Oh yeah, I know Dan.
I did the guest, the host, and the wardrobe. Yeah. Where you just go to his house and then you'll put in a wardrobe and then you do this. Yeah. And nothing else is different. Yeah. And I've been told that it was really hard to do because Mike Bonner McKenzie had done the one before me. Yeah. Who I work with, and he does like video stuff and things. I work with him at the college, and he was saying he had to keep getting out the wardrobe. It was too warm. He was dying in there, and I'm going, that's great. I'm not going to get out of this wardrobe. If I pass out while this podcast is happening, that's brilliant. And I'm just sat in this wardrobe going, this is fine. I'm just in a wardrobe.
See, I'd love to do Dan Brown's. I am claustrophobic, so the idea of sitting in a closet is kind of on my list of, that's not somewhere you really want to put yourself. At the same time, I'd love to be just in there and then halfway through maybe have a panic attack and just see how that goes.
Yeah,
it's like
this is the thing.
Interesting
like,
concept.
I really wanted to just, like, I thought it was going to be warm and really claustrophobic and really bad. But the bit I don't get is he puts the microphone in the wardrobe. So anyone listening is just going to hear two voices. It's not like it's going to sound like you're in a wardrobe. Yeah. The microphone, I thought the microphone would be outside and you just hear like a muffled...
Okay, right, yeah.
But the mic's in with you.
Yeah. So you're
if anything,
clear
you're
as
just
day.
like around a mic like this trying to talk.
That's not so hard because I use my hands a lot. So
I was just saying, I just kept knocking it and everything. My arms are going everywhere.
Right.
But yeah,
I should have Dan Brown on this. We should do a podcast exchange. That's what we should
do. It. That'd be amazing.
But that actually brings us nicely round because Dan's part of like the comedy scene in Lincoln and what he does. Yes. And you wanted to discuss art scenes.
Yes, like you wanted a theme.
Like everyone picks a theme.
Art scene was mine because whenever I'm having conversations with people and trying to like do this networking thing, that phrase keeps rocking up. Right. Usually followed by Lincoln doesn't have one. Yeah. And then
I say that quite a lot.
This is like, and this is the thing that I want to fix. This is the bit because for me there is, but they're really disparate little pockets. Yes. And if those little pockets all just built bridges between each other, really cool shit would happen.
It would happen.
And Chatting to a guy called Joshua Eden and another guy called Dan Svark last night. Dan had done some music for my zine Esoterica when that was going, and is a friend of Hazel's, blah blah blah, lots of arty people. And Josh I'd never even heard of. He was like, you need to meet this guy, and he turned out that he's been to London, worked with Tracy Emin, and done like the full thing of being an artist out there, and has come back to Lincoln, and he was just going, I want a space. There are no spaces. We just took over a house in London and filled it with feathers. I can't do that here. And he was just getting really like angry that he couldn't get a space here, and I was like trying to say like General Practice had a space above Craft Room before that closed, and like others like little communities of people have their little things, but if
there's no hub.
There's no hub, which Andy is trying to make. Andy was trying to set up this thing called the Impact Hub, which is like a big creative space where everyone could be involved in, but getting enough funding to get that to where he wants it, which is coffee shop, full office spaces, rentable areas, stage, everything. That's going to take time.
See, that's something which I've in the past year I've been toying with, because essentially I've got like an idea in my head which I need a sculpture space for that I can build in, and so I don't destroy my house essentially, because it involves plaster and wood and welding. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm desperately searching for a studio space that I can just put stuff in, and then everyone I speak to similarly is saying, I'd love to be able to just like rent a space
and just do.
Whereas like I'd love to get to that point where you could have like coffee shop and bits and bobs and a gallery
but just
downstairs.
having blank walls.
It's just like you could rent a warehouse and you could put stuff in it. It's just knowing the ins and outs of like business practice.
Well, it's like Craft Room is going for 15 grand per annum or something.
I
probably shouldn't say this because it's like people are going to be like, I want it.
It's fine, this is 2 weeks away.
But if we get if you got enough people together, that's not.
You could form a collective which could hire
which General Practice did, and they got that space, but then they had to move out when the bar closed downstairs and things like that. But if you could get the whole thing, it'd be beautiful. And there's loads of these little buildings that are out all over Lincoln where you look them up and it's like, it's just this much per annum and then you can rock and roll. But getting enough people together and getting that funding together is the tricky bit. And that's where I fall down, because I'm okay at putting people in a a and I'm good at getting the people together, but getting a money and a space and mashing that together, that's...
I think in a way, like with this saying, like people often say that Lincoln has no art scene. I mean, my go-to is that Lincoln's a black hole. Like, it's not so much that it doesn't have an art scene, it's just that anyone throws something into that, it disappears. And it's like with the guys from like General Practice, or like with bits which go on with spoken word stuff. It's like so many people have tried in Lincoln of throwing things out and going, we're going to start doing this and we'll try and do it. And the only thing which has really spitballed that was Frequency, but that's not from Lincoln. It's like it's not Lincoln based. It comes to Lincoln and it arrives and it does stuff and it's great, but it's never something which kind of originated as a Lincoln idea or with locals who are directly here. So it's one of these things of, I think, whilst we make so many attempts at making an art scene, the city itself doesn't help itself.
No.
And I think part of that is just down to the atmosphere which is Lincoln, it's heavily business based, it's heavily conservative, and that doesn't help art.
No,
because you go 30 miles up the road, Nottingham thrives. Sheffield does great with that.
We've got Karen Lee now, Labour wise, and Karen I know went to an event organised by Simon Hollingworth and all of that. Now that did have a political focus, but it was an art event. They took over like an underbridge and they turned it into like an art space thing. And I know she was doing that, but if she can just clock into the fact that there's this much going on, then it'd be amazing.
It does need something just to solidify it, really.
Lincoln just has this weird apathy.
It does.
When I was at uni, I really remember distinctly, like, the first time I was told, like, you need to leave. And I was in the middle of this seminar, and we're all talking about, like, it was the business seminar, basically, like, how to turn all your learning into something. And it was just a guy going, leave, go to London, go there, they've got it. And I'm going, you've got a room of people that could set up, like, 3 film companies already. And you're telling them to just fuck off, basically. And then the next breath is, after graduation, you're seeing the same people that told you all to leave going, isn't it a shame that Lincoln hasn't got the filmmaking community that it deserves? Like, you just told us all to go.
Yeah, literally, like, I mean, I have my own grumps with Lincoln Uni anyway. I mean, I'm not about to start just, like, throwing mud. But it's one of those things that, yeah, you spend your time at Lincoln Uni and everyone you speak to who comes in to tell you how to do things tells you to go to London or Manchester. And they say, yeah, you need to move, you need to go somewhere. And then at the same time, the uni's like, no, we've got all these alumni. And it's like, yeah, but they all leave.
Yeah, because you told them to.
Yeah. It's like they're here for a short time, and they do things while they're here. But once that's over, they go. It's like the whole, because they're doing a big thing of, like, YouTubers at the minute, aren't they? Of, like, every Lincoln Uni post comes with a YouTuber now. It's like, win a free prize.
Don't get me started.
Oh, we got time. Yeah, so, like, you kind of, it's like, here's your free gift along with your news update of a YouTuber, and they're so proud of them. And it's like, yeah, but you realise they're not staying because they're not from Lincoln.
No, and they're all going to go
they'll
work
go
for
home
Google or whatever.
They'll go do whatever they want to do. That's because they're, creative types, and because there's no base, and because there's no bigger industry who's looking to go, you know what, I can spend $5,000 and just do something and help other people.
Yeah.
It's down to all the grassroots things, which always take years and usually fall through.
$5,000 is like, when you hear these numbers, they sound like astronomical, but they're not in terms of what you can
achieve with that.
And also to get it. Like, Arts Council basic funding, like, they have, like, 2 tiers, basically, and the first one's, like, 200, it's, like, either $2,000 to $10,000, and then the next one's $10,000 and up.
Okay.
So you can apply all the way up to $10,000 and only need to find 10% of that yourself.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. The problem with Arts Council, and that's not their fault, is that because, as we say, Conservatives, Tories, twats abound, that Arts Council had to change all of their rulings about how they put that money into things. Because originally Arts Council just went, are you doing a thing? Here's some money. Yeah. And now it's, are you ticking off these boxes in terms of a theme or an idea or something that's structurally based in community is the huge one.
Yeah,
if your art piece does something community based, like we applied for Arts Council for room service to take it on tour, and they were happy with everything, but they wanted like 12 workshops with the community, teaching them what the play was about. And I just went, that defeats the entire point of me putting it on if I then use up half of my audience in a load of workshops telling them what it is. And I don't blame them, because that's their new thing. It has to be community-based art, not just art.
It has to be a social contribution rather than just an intellectual one.
Yeah, and that's annoying.
It is annoying.
Because some things aren't that. And in my head, it's already doing that by working with more than me.
Yeah, I guess you could say there's that group aspect, that if there's more than yourself involved, then you're already contributing. Yeah. And obviously, I think with especially stuff like theatre, the idea of putting on a show is a contribution. I mean, it's harder for, the likes of me who just wants to make a piece and then put that in a gallery. It's like it's very insular, it's very looking inward. You're putting on something for people to go look at, but it's not something they're involved in heavily. It's not something they can come away with something other than just the memory of, oh yeah, I saw that thing at this point, and maybe that's something which can affect me later on. I mean, obviously that's always the goal of art. So yeah, it is a kind of interesting, but I mean, it's not even Arts Council which has just been affected by that. I mean, I know Prince's Trust used to do a lot for like independent businesses, which helps people making craft and illustration and all that kind of stuff, and they've heavily changed because they used to hand out grants, but now it's loans, so it's all business loans.
I didn't know Prince's Trust had been affected.
Yeah, I mean, I set up my business originally when I went self-employed through some money from Prince's Trust, and now they can't offer grants to the scale which was now. You get a grant of like 500 quid, but you're allowed a loan of up to like 10,000, but it's a business loan, so you take on much more risk.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of thing. It's the idea of like, we all want to make art, but it's how much personal risk do you put into it?
Because I won't go near things like loans and stuff like that yet. Mostly because I think what I pride myself in is being able to take, like, if I go to a venue and I go, do you have a space? Yes. What's your quietest date? Wednesday. Cool. I will make a thing for Wednesday by this time. And then I go, I need 5 people, you 5 in here. That I can do reasonably well, and then people get profit sale, like shares. Yeah. That I can do. and I never really have needed to push it out into loans and things like that because I've always been able to grassroots it up a bit. But the longevity isn't then there. As you say, it's a black hole. You then do the thing, you throw it out into the ether, it happens, everyone gets their whatever quids at the end, and then it's done. And that project's over now. Yeah,
it's a strange burnout, which heavily affects grassroots things. You see all the time of like, and it in a way, it's like it's that social like media thing of like it happens, everyone talks about it, but then within a week there's something else trending. So it's like it gets pushed away, it gets pushed aside. So, and then that's where you kind of get to that point of like, yeah, it went really well this time. We can use that as an excuse to get funding to do this, and that's meant to be the knock-on effect, but it just doesn't happen, at least in Lincolnshire.
No. But that's the apathy problem.
Yes.
And that's like top tier stuff.
Yeah.
Like, strip it all the way back to just a person doing a thing. The problem with that is, as I say, like with the uni leave, but when I was at uni, every house share was a film company.
Yeah.
So every 5 people in a house had a film company of, God knows, like 300 students. So I don't even know what the maths for that is of how many film companies there now are. When really what should have happened is all of those students who had got in one room made 3 film companies, each with 5 producers each with 10 directors, with a cast of whatever, with 50 film, like half the... sharing each other's kit, and make 2 feature lengths in a year, and get it done. And they didn't, because they wanted their film company.
Yeah.
It has to be mine.
When you're at uni, you think everyone wants to be a director. Nobody wants to admit that they could be an editor or a great producer. Yeah. Literally, I mean, I discussed this with Matt when we were on, because we were discussing pop culture. We did the same course, and he's an editor now. He's an assistant editor in London.
Nice.
He works on a few things, I think, like Mr. Selfridges and stuff like that. And he's got a few things under his belt. But we both kind of sit there and go, yeah, we both wanted to be director. We worked on many projects together, and it was always a struggle between us to figure out who was going to have the creative control of that project and how we were going to work that project. And it's because you were in a classroom of 30 people who wanted to be in control.
Yeah, and all of them want to be Kubrick, and all of them want to be Scores. Yeah.
Everyone's got Tarantino on their chest. Everyone's kind of sat there going, yeah, my script's great, it's like edgy, it's cutting edge, and it's like, no, it's terrible. No, you can't write.
I remember this one, it was brilliant. Like, we were all doing like our various scripts. I'll demean myself first before I demean someone else.
Okay.
Like I put forward 3 ideas.
Yep.
One of them was a guy who builds the first 4-dimensional building tower.
Okay.
Tower block, and then he sees himself jump off the top. Right. And that's as far as I had with that idea. Can't remember what the second idea was, but again, a similarly weird, out there, conceptual thing. And then the last one was, I want to do Alice in Wonderland, but they're gangsters. Like, so there's hats, and then there's cats, and then Alice is like this cult thing. And I said it last, because I'm like, I don't want to do that one.
Yep.
I've got it, and I've got it all planned out, and it will be really fun to write, but it's doing nothing. It's just fun shenanigans. And everyone in the room went, do the Alice in Wonderland one! Do the Alice in Wonderland one! I went, no, I want to do the conceptual, like, building one, which is all about, like, grief. No, do the Alice in Wonderland one. Like, you could name them after hats, and it would be cool. And I'm like, this is I did the Alice in Wonderland one in the end, but...
I do think...
it was just this thing, like, everyone does an Alice in Wonderland
thing. We made a trope list during uni. We were like, right, so... Because essentially we were getting to the end of our thing, and we were like, got an end of year show coming up, and we're seeing a lot of first years and second years coming up, and we're like, there is a lot of student tropes. So we basically made this list, and we thought, if we go to the end of your show and we watch it, and we basically drink every time one of these things happens, and it's like, if someone commits suicide... If someone drinks from a Jack Daniels bottle, if someone takes pills out of Tic Tac box, it's just like, if someone does Alice in Wonderland in a different way, it's like, everyone does it, and it's the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
You can't get around it.
This guy just had a grandfather clock that was haunted, and he thought he did basically reinvented horror, and had just described, he was like, a family moved from their house in the city to a smaller house in the country, never heard this before, goes into this house, and there's a grandfather clock, and it ticks, and it's scary, like the sound is scary, and it turns out that the house is haunted, and it possesses the main guy. Well, like Amityville Horror. What? Like in Amityville Horror when that happens. No, not like... No, it's my idea. Yeah, it's your idea that is the Amityville Horror, but with a grandfather clock.
Oh dear, I know, like, there's always that fear of like you're ripping off something else, but I think at some point you end up in this descended fog where you convince yourself that you're not ripping off anything else, even though you are. Like
every story's been told. Like you go back to the Greeks. Ancient Greeks were saying like every story has been done. So there's no chance in hell that you're going to do something unique. It's how you do it that makes it important. And as you say, there's all this trope list. Like I work at the college as well, so I do the art thing, and then I teach at the college. I teach media, and every single one will do a film about depression, where depression is a man in a hood that chases a kid every single time. And at that level, I kind of let them off because this is their first time ever writing scripts, and it's the first time they're ever going to pick up a camera. I will never forgive them for thinking that Apocalypse Now is boring and that Anchorman is better.
I've got my own gripes with Anchorman. Just. My problem with Anchorman was that it came out and everyone hyped it, and it was like I avoid films which people hype until the hype's died down a little, so I can actually watch it.
Yeah.
But Anchorman, the hype never died, so I ended up watching it and watched it with people who thought it was hilarious, and I was like, it's good, but it's not at this level which everyone seems to have put it on.
Yeah. I found it funny and I did laugh all the way through it, but when people talk about films like that, like they've changed things, and then. Like I say, we showed them Apocalypse Now, and they're going, it's just long and boring, and why did that man talk at the end? I felt sorry for the dog. And then that's it. That's what they took from it.
Yeah.
And it just makes me sad inside that they can't see what that film is.
Yeah.
At all.
But then at the same time, I think there's the challenge of that is like, obviously at college level, you're going to watch things and be like, I'm not too sure, It's something like they'll watch Citizen Kane and not quite get why Citizen Kane is Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
And then you go to uni and it's the complete opposite. If you watch anything, like you'll watch Cocktail and be like, this is a masterpiece. It's like, it's not. it's terrible. It's like, no. They're going for a lot of you don't understand the tropes they're putting in. It's intentional.
Did you see how they cut at that point rather than this point?
And then you come out the other side of it and you're like, both of those people are assholes. I need to be somewhere in the middle of this. I mean, like the other day we were watching Eraserhead. It's like, you can watch Eraserhead and you can appreciate it, but at some point you do sit there and you think, this must have been the strangest thing to like act or be involved with. And just like, you gotta really stand back from it once in a while. And just go, what?
David Lynch, I will never get, and I watched the latest season of Twin Peaks,
right?
And as I'm watching it, my housemate Lewis is watching me going like, what's going on? I don't understand. And then he just went, what if David Lynch isn't a genius?
Yeah.
And I went, no, he is. He's brilliant. Like I've just watched a 3-minute sequence of someone sweeping. It's incredible. What if he did that because he doesn't know what he's doing?
Yeah.
And then I couldn't watch the rest of the episode. I'm just going, what if I have just convinced myself this man is amazing and he isn't? He is. I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Like, I think.
Yeah.
But then a friend of mine then went, you need to watch the behind the scenes of Inland Empire.
Right.
And there's a bit where this intern just runs up to David Lynch. And he's like, what do you need, David? He's like, I need a monkey and a Japanese girl with one leg. And he's just you can see, he's just got his hand on his head and he's just going, I want this and this. And then that guy went and got it. Like, David's not that guy's a genius for going, like, okay. And then he made some calls and then found those very specific things. And they're all in it. Like, they're all in Inland Empire for like 2 seconds at the end. And you just go, how did you decide that? Convince producers to give you money to do that and then do it.
I think that comes to another problem of why, like, art scenes suffer is that when you try to explain art, it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Like if you break everything down to just the core concept, or not even the concept, if you ignore everything concept and you just like, right, so I want a guy standing in a room for 20 minutes and then at the end of it someone brings him a bowl of trifle. And you're like,
I'm in.
Yeah. Like certain people, you can say that to, and it'll be like, yes, this is going to be brilliant. I can see already the layers because of the trifle, and there's a lot of British humour to it, and this kind of stuff. And suddenly these concepts are like firing in your head, and everything works perfectly. You go to an accountant, and you say, I need 10 grand. Why? Got this idea for this film. Okay, well, we'll break it down budget-wise. What do you need? It's like, all right, well, I need to build a room. And it's like, okay, well, that's understandable. You need a set. But then there's just a guy standing in the room for 20 minutes. And then he brings him a ball of trifle. The trifle might be expensive.
I want the best trifle that money can buy.
Couldn't you just have fake trifle? No, because conceptually that's void. It's a problem. When you try and... I think so many people worry about explaining their work so heavily because it sounds so odd when you say it out loud. And it's that little shyness which kind of kicks in a lot of people and they're like, so I've got this script idea and I want to do this script idea, but I know I'll never be able to show it to anybody because they're not going to understand. And so, well, you kind of have to give people the benefit of the doubt that they will understand, that if you explain enough of it, that you might be able to get through to them.
For me, it was always been a case of once you make a thing,
it's
easy, like with writing, I know that I'm going to sit in a metaphorical dark room for a long time, put a lot of words down, edit it, blah, 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 and then it goes out into the world. And let's say that's some poems. Then I release those poems. Not necessarily performing them, just they're out there now. They're now, in a way, not mine. They're other people's. And if other people go, that was about penguins, and I'm like, I sat in that room forever thinking about giraffes, and that's what... Okay, like, I can't do anything about that now. I can be annoyed that they didn't get it, but I think as long as whoever's on the other end gets something, feels anything, then it's succeeded in some way. Even if that's someone going, I don't really know what that was, but I think I enjoyed it. Cool. Then, like, I've won that battle. Because once that thing is out in the world, it's out in the world, and you can't do anything about it. Like Aronofsky's Mother, which I will not ever stop talking about for the rest of my life.
I've not seen it yet. I'm intending to see it.
I'm
because
saying
it's
nothing.
But again, like, Aronofsky's one of those directors where you, like... He could be just, like, a madman. Like, he could... thoroughly be a madman.
This is The Fountain meets Requiem for a Dream.
Right, okay.
And he's just gone. And he treats Jennifer Lawrence like shit, like, for the whole film. And she's apparently his new muse, and they're a couple now.
Oh, right.
And
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until after I saw Mother, and I went, oh, whoa, that's not okay then. Like, that's...
It's a strange situation to put yourself
But that film does so many things, and all the critics have gone, it's terrible. And it's because they think it's this one thing. When really, if you amalgamated what all of these critics are saying, it's all of those things, because that's what he intended. He intended it to be something that you took, and it's kind of like a litmus test for yourself, that if you leave that film and think it's about that, then you need to be thinking about yourself. And if you leave that film and you're going, it's just a woman in a house, then you might be okay. You didn't enjoy the film, but you're going to be okay. But if you leave that film and you go, oh, it's about artistic desire, then you need to check yourself because you're not okay. Like,
it's like you're hiding more about yourself than you are about the actual film. Essentially,
it's a huge Rorschach test, like who you are, and it's genius.
I think that's why I approach art as a way of essentially, like, very little of what I make, I approach from a personal level, because I've had this thing where ever since college I've been like, cool, so I want to make something which makes people just constantly question themselves. I don't want to necessarily broach a subject particularly, but I want people to step in and think, okay, they've labelled this art, so I have to think about it. I don't understand it. And I'm like, cool, that's exactly what I want, because that's how you should be thinking about it. You shouldn't be thinking about it like, oh, well, no, it's a bucket with a cheese in it. That works. You should be going in and be like, there's a bucket and a cheese with it. I don't get why there's a bucket and a cheese with it. Should we talk about why there's a bucket with some cheese in it? And it's like, that's what I'm trying to get for, like, every piece you ever make.
And that's really difficult, because the fine line between someone just going, nah, I don't get it, and I don't get it. Like, it's the tone of voice in their own head of, I don't get it, so I don't care. Or, I don't get it.
It's trying to make it engaging just to that.
I felt like I did, like, with room service, I feel like I got it just right.
Right.
I felt like that worked. And again, like, I'm not saying that out of, like, oh, I'm brilliant. But, like, the cast I had did a great job. The sound guy did a great thing. And because all those people did it so well, it tied together so well. For a play which is just two guys in a hotel room stood over a dead body, and then they go, where's room service? For about half an hour. Everyone left going, I don't quite know what that is, but I felt these things. I went, good. What did you think? And then I always do Q&As afterwards because I always want to know what.
Yeah.
And there's one bit in it where the two guys leave the hotel room, and when they come back in, one of them's telling all the worst jokes ever. Like I found a list of like racist jokes, homophobic jokes, everything, and he just goes in delivering these jokes. And I know that I'm a terrible person, and I don't agree with the jokes, but I will always laugh if the pun works.
Right. Okay.
It's just a thing. I don't know what it is. I don't like them. I hate them.
Yeah.
But if the joke works as a joke, I will have to.
Something about wordplay just kind
of... The wordplay
it,
gets me every time. But I knew that in the audience I was going to have teenagers who would be like, "How you can't say that," and I'd have other people in the audience who grew up with those jokes.
Yep.
And when we did the Q&A afterwards, my main worry was that the scene was not meant to be a scene you laughed at. The scene was meant to be who will and who won't, and you're going to be sat next to someone and you're going to be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And when we got to the end, I was really worried because there was a couple of titters and not much else. I'm going to get like hung, drawn and quartered for this.
Yeah.
And this one guy stood up and went, "I grew up with these jokes and I found them funny, but this was the first time that I didn't laugh because I knew that they weren't okay now."
Yeah.
And I went, "Yes! You have saved my life in more ways than anyone can understand." Like, and the fact that it's like the play loops 3 times, so they're hearing shit jokes 3 times, and it's different ones every time. And this guy just went, I found them funny, but knew I shouldn't because times have changed, and you're talking about how times have changed and how the audience has changed. And I went, yes, I have. Thank you. Now I won't die when I leave the theatre afterwards and won't get punched in the face. Thank you.
I mean, it's so strange because, like, thinking of, like, when people describe themselves as artists or creatives, a lot of the time they're doing it about expression. And they're saying, okay, cool, so I make art to express. So I go out, I put myself into the work, and then I push that into, because I had an idea or a thought I wanted to express. But in reality, a lot of us are just leeching off the reactions which people bring us.
Yeah.
It's like, really, we're not expressing anything. All I'm doing is I'm putting out this piece of paper. You're going to react to it, and that's going to make me feel something. And that's what I'm intending.
Yeah, the sort of masturbatory element of being artists.
It's the self-indulgence of requiring a reaction to something.
My favourite thing, it was a Venn diagram, and on one of them it said narcissist, and on the other one it had crippling self-doubt, and in the middle it was artist. And it was like, yes, that's it, that's perfect.
I always find it worrying when you meet artists who don't have that, who are just making.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's wonderful. It must be amazing inside your head to, be able to do that kind of thing. But at the same time, it was like part of me, and I know it shouldn't, puts their work slightly lower. And it's like, because you're not struggling to make this, you're just making this. You're not broaching yourself in order to push it out. And it's like, that's a huge kind of dictionary in my head. I mean, it's like Damien Hirst. Like, I love Damien Hirst's work, but he did so much, like where he did his dot series and stuff like that, which was produced and it was put out, and he didn't personally make the pieces and stuff like that. It's like you've come up with the idea and you've pushed the idea out into the world, and the idea is great, and you've got this conceptual value to it, but you personally didn't interact with it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You just placed it, kind of thing. And it's like, whenever I come across that, I'm like, I like it, but I can't like it as much because I know there's no personal connection to it.
Yeah,
and I think it's that. You got to try and find that connection through work as much as finding that through what you're actually making.
Yeah, definitely. Like Marina Abramovich, just constantly pushing herself with everything she's ever done.
Yeah.
And then you read her backstory about how she grew up and what happened to her, and you go, your whole life has just been trying to push your mind and body past the envelope you've just reached, and then you do it, and then you succeed, and you're comfortable again. So you go, okay, what's the next little jump? And when she was younger, it was like tiny little steps, and now it's these huge, dramatic. I'm going to sit in a room and stare at people for a really long time, and you go, that's the most incredible. And then her partner turns up that she left on the Great Wall of China because why not? And he turns up, and they're staring at each other, and it's the most beautiful, harrowing. Brilliant thing in the whole world, and it's just two people looking at each other, and it's just pushing that mental energy constantly out there. If you're just sitting and going, I'm going to draw daffodils, and you get really good at drawing daffodils, eventually you have to draw tulips. It doesn't undermine the fact that you're really good at that, but you as individual have to do the next bit.
It's a problem with I have with I have a lot of problems. Essentially, like you get people who obviously they make like photorealistic images, and they'll go, "Oh yes, it's made with like a biro, and it's like a picture of Marilyn Monroe, and it's done perfectly." And I'm like, "That's fantastic. Technically, that is brilliant. I cannot question that. However,
it's not
where is the
anything.
concept of this?
Yeah, it's not doing anything. I know exactly what you mean. Like seeing one and it's like, I painted this cooker and it looks exactly like a cooker. Like that's great. I could take a picture of it, or I could go see one. What have you done other than show off?
Yeah. Well, it's like I always find it interesting there. Like I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking about the students who put a pineapple in an art gallery as a prank, and then they put it in glass. And I was like, that's amazing, because what the students don't realise is that they made a piece of art.
Yeah.
Like, the whole idea of them going in there to make fun of art, to put a pineapple in there, which is classed as a tropical ingredient in the UK, and then for it to be in glass encased, is like, they've unintentionally created this piece of work. And so you get people who do these photorealistic drawings and or paintings and whatnot, and they put it forward as like, yes, that's the concept, that it's photorealistic. And I'm like, that isn't the concept. Because you're forgetting that you have isolated yourself in order to do this, and that's more of the concept.
Yeah.
That you've taken the time out of your day, you've probably missed appointments, you've probably ignored friends and family in order to push yourself into creating this perfect piece of work.
Yeah.
And that's more of the concept than whatever you've put on that page. But you're not publicising that concept. Yeah. You're publicising that I've done this perfect painting. And people will love that perfect painting because they'll be like, you'll be amazed and it'll blow your mind. I'm like, no. Just turn the camera around a little bit.
Yeah, I want to look at that guy.
Look at the guy who sat there going, yeah. You know, the hours of stress, the no sleep. It's like, but that's the difference to me. Like, that's the difference between art. So you've got an artist who would turn the camera around at some point and be like, here's the piece I made, and then here's the 27 missed calls I have. Rather than just here's the piece I made. That'd
be amazing.
Yeah.
Because you could have like on one wall the photorealistic painting, and then on the other wall you have a big painting of like texts and everything. A photorealistic painting of texts and missed calls. Well, just do that. Just do a photorealistic painting of the phone that you're drawing, of you not answering your phone because you're drawing your phone.
And then it all got a little bit too meta. Okay, so just going back to art scene.
Yes,
because that is what we're here to discuss. I mean, we've been discussing the art scene in general. So what are you working on right now?
Well,
what's your main project? Because I know you're working on a play.
Yes, the big one that's coming up in March is we're doing an adaptation of Martin Crimp's attempts on her life. Okay. Which is a postmodern play, like one of the... as I read into it, it's like one of the first major ones. There's no characters. Mm-hmm. There's only dialogue. The dialogue, you're told when the dialogue changes voice by a dash, but you're not told how many people are talking or who's talking. Okay. So it's up to you to decide the setting and the characters. Right. But the whole thing is 17 independent scenarios about a woman called Anne. But no one really knows who Anne is. And then what the overarching themes are is we don't pay attention to women and they are invisible in society, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And... yeah, so Chris Clarkson came to me, he's finished at university, he set up his own company called Gravitate 9.0, and he went, I want to collaborate with you and do this play. And I was like, yes, because this is everything that I want to make. This guy scripted it already and I hate him. So, yes, I need to put it on. Yeah. And we're going to be performing that at the Terry O'Toole in March 20th. I can't remember the date. Okay,
next year sometime.
March next year.
That's the.
And we're going to be performing at Terry O'Toole. Okay. With a cast of 6. We're still auditioning for the final person. I haven't done the posters for that, and Chris is going to kill me. And I've just remembered. Yeah, and it's a great production. Yep. It's just this really interesting thing where you just keep playing around with, like, we spent ages just sandboxing. I put a message out on Facebook going, who's an actor, who wants in, we're doing a thing. And about 16 to 20 people just went, I'm in. And I went, this is the most people I've ever had ever. Like, if I do proper auditions and say I've got a space and a proper cast, I'm getting like 2 people turn up. I say I'm doing a thing and suddenly 20 people want in. And we just went to the university, booked out rooms and we just went, here's the script, I think it's in a bank, go. And after a while, this actual piece started coming out, and I'm really excited. And it's the first time I've directed someone else's script as well. Okay. Like, everything I've done so far has been my script, how I want to do it, whatever. With me producing and doing the marketing, sing the theme tune, write the theme tune, all that. Yep. This is the first time that I've been able to collaborate with enough people where I can say to Chris, who's producing, can you sort out the rights? Yes. And he just goes off and does that. Yep. And I'm going, this is great, because now I can just sit and I can write up all the notes for every scene and how we're going to do them, so I can pass it back to Chris so that he can direct on Thursday. Yep. Rather than me sorting out everything. And whilst I say that, I still haven't sorted out the audition process, which actually is my job. And we're doing that on Saturday, and no one's going to know. Not on me.
It is that madness of trying to collaborate everything into one space, and then just remembering that you actually have something to do. Yeah, essentially. I mean, do you do that thing which I do a thing where I essentially procrastinate by doing other work. So you start off with like one project and you've got this project to do and you think, I'm going to do this project. It's got to be fantastic. Everything's working along, and then halfway through you're like, I've got an idea for something else.
Gonna do that one.
If I just type out that treatment, and then I'll, 10 minutes later you've got half a script and you're like, oh shit, I was maybe doing that thing. But now I've got this project on the way. And you've got to let go at some point.
Yeah. It used to be like I turned that into my actual method of starting new things. So when it was just me, make a thing, it ends, new project, with, like, as you say, like burnout, turn off thing. I used to start 15 scripts, like straight off, like I'm going to start 15 things. And then I would know which script I had to continue if that was the one that I kept ending up doing. So if I start 15, even if like the 16, like 12th script's great, and I really love that idea. If I never go back, if I'm thinking about it but never write it, but I'm writing script 2, then I know that script 2 is going to be the project for next year. Yeah. So it became a kind of, again, a litmus test for me of, if I start 20 things and I don't do 8 of them, then fine. If I do all 20, then I'll burn out, but it's cool. I did 20 cool things.
That's essentially what I do. I kind of look at things and go, right, cool. So it's that whole first page sketch idea. It's like, if I do the sketch, I've started it. Yeah. So when I go back to it, I've already got the sketch.
Yeah, because I don't really like the headspace of illustrations, really, like, don't know, I draw stick figures and that's it. That's just, is that, like, I know what my mental process is for writing. Yeah. What's that like?
Oh, for me, an illustration, it's strange though, because as much as I am an illustrator, because I do illustrations, I don't consider myself an illustrator. It's the same way of, like, I can do graphic design, but I don't consider myself a graphic designer because I'm terrible at graphic design. It's that I can get myself in the technical headspace which would be required to do graphic design at a high level. Right, okay. So the same for illustration of, really, my illustrations I put out are just pieces. They're not intended to be illustrations. They're not intended to be perfect.
They're great though.
They never start. Thank you. I'll take that. So they never start as like an idea of like, this is going to end up being a complete illustration. Yeah. Occasionally I'll do a project where I have like an endpoint to like an idea. Like recently I did the animals and objects, and I'm working on a calendar at the minute, which is just a redo of the one I did last year, essentially. So it's like there's a pattern to production there, but in terms of like t-shirts and other stuff, essentially all they are sketches, which I then just work into. And at some point during that process, I'll decide this is going to go into print, or this is going to go into being a painting or a mixed media piece or something like that. So it's really, I hate the idea of, and the reason I don't call myself an illustrator or anything is because I hate the idea of being pigeonholed. Yeah. Part of me really despises that idea that someone will label themselves to such an nth degree that they won't even explore other things.
This began with me listing all of the names and titles that I have. Well,
this is the thing, like, I mean, I recently participated in like an audition for a painting challenge. Okay. And I was with painters, proper painters, who do still life and landscape, and they consider themselves painters. I just turned up and I was like, I'm not a painter. I consider myself an artist, but I don't consider myself a painter. Yeah. And it was because halfway through the thing, like, you're painting along, and I'm just throwing masking tape on a piece of paper and then throwing paint in the thing, and they're really concentrating, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can do that style if I put my mind to it and if I really wanted to. But part of me is like, no,
nah, I'm alright.
Don't do that, because that's not you. That's not what you're trying to create. You're trying to create a feeling more than like a technical ability.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, and it's the same with like writers. Like, I write, but I don't consider myself a writer. You know, and it's that kind of whole fingers in many pies production. Yeah. Which I try to fully embody.
I tried doing that more when I first ever started making stuff. When I was at sixth form, I used to make music with a guy called Scott Pashley, who's now got a mobile recording studio, which is great.
That's cool.
And then I used to draw things. When I was a kid, I have a folder still at home, and I used to invent planets and who lived on them and everything. And it's like a full encyclopedia of sketches and drawings of what lives on these things. Like when Pokemon came out, I decided I could do better, so I made my own. And things it wasn't in any way, but I was a kid and I thought I could. And then I just kept writing things as well, and the writing just seems to be the thing that has stuck. It's the same thing as starting 20 things, but it was like starting 20 formats, and then one of them stuck. But there's a part of me that I'd love to get painting again. I've got some paintings at home, big big canvas abstract stuff. That's just fun to do and really cathartic. I was doing I wanted to do a series of 4 canvases in blue, 4 in green, 4 in whatever, whilst listening to a set band. So the blue ones were Alt J, so I had all of Alt J playing, and I'm just going, that sounds like this big movement, and but I never end up doing it again. I always end up just going back and I'm open my laptop and I'm writing away. And now that I'm doing more stuff helping people do what they want to do, that takes up time. Helping the outspoken poets, love them, they're great, but again, whilst I'm doing that, I can't do this. Getting Blue Room sorted, which I'll talk about in a bit, that was great, but now I know that my focus has to be theatre. Now I know my focus has to be this, because it's becoming a thing of, I know that that's going to pay me at some point, and I don't want to have to the college isn't great. They haven't paid me for some things. I probably shouldn't say, but I don't care. They don't pay me for some hours that I've worked. They don't do this, they don't do that. And I feel this theatre job now feels more stable. As long as I can get bums on seats, which I think I can do, that's a more stable thing than an actual educational institution. I don't know what to take from that. And everyone's going, oh, you're really lucky. And I'm going, yes, I am lucky, but that wasn't a plan that was the case. I wanted the real job to support me so that I could do what I wanted. And it's just ended up being that this venue can sort me out and I have good people around me that support me. I suppose, it is lucky to an extent if it pans out. I don't know. For all I know, I'll hit April and I'll have no money and I'll die. But
that could happen tomorrow.
It could happen on October 19th when I'm 27, and 27's always a good number for artists. They always live longer than that. Definitely, always.
This dreadful thing in my head of, I turned 28 this year, and I'm so I've essentially got 2 months to live, right? Because it's going to happen.
There's a guy called Mike Henry who I used to live with. He makes feature-length films called Quandary Productions, and he made a feature-length every year. His last one, Time and Place, was great. And we were talking about the 27 club thing and the 30 club thing. And well, we haven't done it yet. You have to do something really good, and then you're allowed to
You've got to make your pièce de résistance. Top yourself.
Then you can top yourself. You can't do it. You can't do it early because everyone's gonna be oh, he was just sad and an artist. You should have just got a job. But if you do a thing and it's great, and then you can go, well, it's great, goodbye, and then everyone's that was so sad that he left after leaving this amazing thing for us.
I guess we can just profit off that, right? Oh, no.
But my point was, do you get do you think similar things in that morbid end of the artistic spectrum?
Oh, definitely.
Of being the sort of self-indulgent bit.
Oh yeah, I think it's impossible to make work which doesn't have some reflection of you. I mean, I'm most of my work's quite dark anyway. It starts off from a dark place, and then I find, because I'm motivated by it, my calendar I worked on, it's essentially a bunch of nihilistic animals. So they're all in depressed situations, and it comes with slogans like "Don't get up, no one will care," and it'll be the same next year. And as a calendar, I love that.
Is that meant to be tongue in cheek, or is that meant to be just that's a thing?
Well, it's a bit of both, because it comes from me as a personal experience of being these are feelings you experience. These are feelings which you have, and I've clearly had at some point because I was able to manifest them into some product. But at the same time, I'm heavily motivated by that because I look at it and I'm yes, everything's don't get up and do it. And it's so if I do get up and do it, I'm already beating it. And it's that kind of push. Whereas I know other people look at it and they're like, no, that's just fucking depressing. I couldn't have that on my wall all the time. It's like,
no,
that's how I see it.
It's like why I did room service was because I was working at Burger King, repetitive every day, and the script's repetitive. It's the people doing the same thing over and over and over again, and I just was having this existential crisis about why am I here? What am I doing? Who am I? So I just put all of that in this script, and then how I see it is, if it was a physical thing, like if bad feelings were a physical black ball of gunk, I'm just going, go away, and I'm putting it in a script, and then that goes on a stage, and then I make a load of actors feel it for a while, and I'm a terrible human being, and I make them feel it, make them do it over and over and over again on stage, and then it's not in me anymore, and I'm fine.
See, I'm completely, to some extent I do that, but at the same time I feed it. So it's like, I take this black ball, and I go, okay, cool, I've got this black ball, I'll make this piece of work, but I need that ball back. Because that's mine.
That's my black
That's
ball.
my burning black ball, which hates me and I hate it, and we will continue to live in this subsistence symbiote relationship in order to actually produce work. Because I'm one of those people, if I'm happy, I can't make. And so I have to have that ball still there, even if I am happy and I'm content with everything. I mean, life now is fairly good. And it's like, even though that there, I have to hold on to that ball. And there is always that worry that you'll never let go of it, and that'll destroy everything. But we'll deal with that when I'm 40. And, I kill my kids. Like, something along them lines. But no, you can't, I don't think you can make work which isn't part of you anyway. So you kind of having that darker aspect of yourself. A lot of people draw on it and they really suffer for it. But a lot of people, I think, can push that into work. I mean, it's like this stuff. This year, I've essentially had a year of expression, of just setting up miniature projects that I could express into. And then it was everyone I spoke to required some way to express. I spoke to so many people who were just like, I'm not making work. I hate that I'm not making work. I'm 27 and I'm not making work. I'm 25, I'm not making work. And I was like, why? Because all I do is make work. Like, I never put it out, but it's just there. So it was like, I set up the podcast. It's like, I'm just going to sit and talk to people about shit. Like, they want to talk about it, and they never get a chance to talk. And I was like, shit, we'll just talk about things. Like, I started my zine. It's like, it's completely anonymous. Just throw shit into it, And it was this way of, like, just making these little passion projects, which I could kind of, like, just put out there. They don't make any profit. They're just there.
They're just there.
And that was the kind of the approach I took to this year. It was just like, I need to get stuff out there, because so many people are starting off, and like with taking it back to the last thing, if so many people start off, they do one project. If that project doesn't flourish, they'll drop it, because they've got, whilst as much as you want to make things for art, there's this view of profit at the end. Of like, I can do this, and then they start to think, I could do this, and this could knock onto this, and this, and this, and this, and that'll be a famous director. It's like, that's a great view to have, but you can't drop it if you don't achieve that within the first year. Like, you've got to kind of view past that and think, well, that could have happened when I'm 60.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing, it's that instant gratification. So many people do
this
kind of drop it.
This is my problem. Like, I'm so impatient.
Yeah.
Like, I had a plan when I was 18 that by 20 I would have had my film, and then that would mean that by 23 I would be here, because I was just, and it was partly arrogance, definitely, and also just the belief that if David Bowie can exist, then I can.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I think I'm as good as David Bowie. It was just, it really annoys me when you're like with someone and like, let's take someone really like middle class, wife, 2 kids, small house, goes to work, comes home, blah, blah, blah. And then you're talking to them and they're like saying how the world's a mess, and they're drinking their tea and they're watching BBC News and whatever, and they're not doing anything. Yeah. And then Top of the Pops or something will come on, if it still exists in this analogy, and they see David Bowie and they go, I love David Bowie. Like, I love it. Like, I love what he wears and like the makeup thing, and Ziggy's incredible. It's like, you just explain to me how you, like, you're a slightly moderately right-wing, doesn't understand trans, whatever, but guy who lives in his house and does nothing, but you love that. Yeah, but he's David Bowie though. Yeah, but your son could do that. Yeah. Your son has no reason why he can't become the same thing, apart from if he's not as talented and not David Bowie. But there's no reason that he can't just decide to go off and find an art commune,
yep.
make an album and do the things. Like, no, he has to be a real person.
Yeah.
But David Bowie's incredible. David Bowie still exists as a human entity. He still was he was born and he had ginger hair and was a gawky kid, and then he went and did a thing.
Yeah. I think a great thing of that is I had a conversation with my dad when I was much, much younger. I was probably like 13. And I was a heavy goth at that point. Because why not?
Everyone has it.
Yeah. So I drew an upside down crucifix on my forehead. And I was like, I'm off to the cinema, Dad. And he was like, come here. And it wasn't that he wanted to stop me. He was just like, I just need you to understand what's going to happen when you go out with that. And it's this kind of thing of like, I think so many people see those kind of parents.
That's a cool dad, though.
That's cool.
That's
dad.
a different.
Essentially, he explained it to me. He was like, I just don't want you to get beaten up. And I was like, that's fine. I'm happy for you. He's like, I'm not going to stop you. Just understand that there's a chance some people will beat you up.
Yeah.
And I think there's a thing of like, in a way, I love those middle class, those parents, because they're very misunderstood. Because it's like, as much as you look at them and you go, yeah, you're kind of anti-trans and you're slightly racist and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, it's because you can see the struggle that those people are going through, and you want to ignore that, and you don't want that for your kids.
Yeah.
There's an internal part of you which is protecting your children by going, you can't be trans because that's going to be hard, and I don't want life to be hard.
Yeah, like Master of None, when she, if you've seen it on Netflix.
I've seen the clip where she comes out to her mom.
She comes out, she's just like, you're already black and a woman, like, why are you making this harder on yourself? Like, that was brilliant, and I've never considered that view.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, what I gave was a very stereotypical person.
Yeah.
Definitely. And yes, there's obviously that person who, like David Bowie, at one point was a kid who drew a crucifix on his head and went out and then got beaten up. Yeah. Like, yes. But for me, it was more an analogy of people who then go, I can't be that.
Yeah.
I can't be an artist because they don't work. It's like, you want to be an artist because of what reasons? I like Damien Hirst. I like, I don't know, David Bowie.
Yeah.
I like David Bowie, you like Damien Hirst, whatever. And they're these cool artists that did it. They were still born and grew up and did the thing. There's no reason why you can't do the thing. Yeah. And like, I'm turning 27 in October, which I can't get my head round in lots of ways. And I know there's people older who are like, you'll wait and see. And it's always that, whatever age you're at, the next age up is say wait and see. Yeah. But I have only been able to do the things that I do because I did it. Yeah. And I don't know what else people, when people say how have you put this theatre on, how are you doing this, like, well, I went to the room and then I put people in it and then I did it. I don't really know what else people want me to say, because when you're saying like, I'm 25 and I've not made anything, like, why? Just get the thing and then do the thing. You do it and then it's there.
It's because I think it's that kind of thing of, I think Bo Burnham, like, he had an interview and he was on about like Beyonce and stuff like this, and it's just like, or Justin Bieber, and saying, there's so many people are looking and like, oh, I can never do that, or or believing that they could do that and that it'll just happen. So when people ask you stuff like that, it's not that they're looking for the logistics of how you put it together. They're looking for the little secret thing which you discovered that somehow made that possible. That little piece of luck which didn't actually exist because there was a lot of background. And it's that kind of thing of like, you get so many people who are just, they're wanting the easy, because they're aware that it's hard. So they kind of sit in the background and go, there's all this. And it's like when you go see a film and you think so many people are complaining about the price of films and complaining about all these things. And it's like, yeah, but you're not seeing that those millions of pounds were spent on actually feeding cast and crew and renting spaces and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, when you break it down from that point of view, that's not a lot of money.
That's why I don't like boycotting. Like, I had a friend who would not watch Woody Allen films because Woody Allen, like, and I was like, but you're not watching a Woody Allen film. Yeah. You're watching a film that, yes, Woody Allen is in, has written, and has directed. So he's getting a big chunk, yes. Yeah. But Annie Hall is everyone else. It's the guy that brought Woody coffee at one point. Yeah. Roman Polanski films. It's like, there's so many more people involved. Yeah. He didn't just run around putting wigs on and being all the actors and then filming himself in a room. Yeah. He worked with a huge range of people, and if you boycott that director, you're boycotting every human being that worked with him. Like, you don't know who else was on that set. There could have been someone worse on that set. Like, you don't know. Like, there's no, like, I like to split artist from art, and then if like you were saying about the photorealistic paintings, like, yes, there's a really interesting story that connects artists to art, but at the end of the day, I have to make a separation that, yes, he was a dick that he didn't answer his phone calls, but this piece of art is great for these reasons.
I've got a headline which I got on my desk, and it was from The Guardian at like some point whilst I was in uni, and it just says one law for humans, another for artists. It's like, yeah, because at some point there's this weird connection which you have to disconnect with. It's like, I mean, to use a terrible example, it's like Lost Prophets. So see, Lost Prophets, and a lot of people won't listen to Lost Prophets music anymore. And I'm like, there is a band. There is obviously, you know, great if you're not supporting him now. You're not going out, and if you release something new because you're aware of him and his background, and he shouldn't be that kind of position, fantastic. That's something you've made a moral decision to do that. But to ignore everything you had from your teenage years just because of his actions, the rest of the band will suffer. Yeah. It's like you've still got to find a way to kind of get through that in a way, and just not ignore it. You're aware of it, but not deny yourself it, because you're just not just denying the rest of the artistic process. So you can't kind of like make that disconnect. Then you'll struggle. And
if we boil it back to what you were saying, like, or what we both were saying, like, that art is meant to give a reaction to someone. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you watch that and go, I don't want to touch children, and you've learned that from that film for some reason that you didn't learn it earlier, but for some reason you learnt it then it's done its job then. Yeah. Like, the art's done something that's important, and you're meant to become a better person at the end of it. Not the guy who made it. He is also meant to, but from that art and you viewing perspective, you're the end product.
It works out. Okay, so just final question. We'll work this into final. So obviously uni's just started. All the students are back, which is, you know, delightful.
They're everywhere.
Like, I don't want to be one of those people who hate students, but I can't park on my street, and that's the most frustrating thing.
It's like Christmas, like, I loved Christmas market, and I work uphill, and when Christmas market happened, and I just was finished with students, and they'd all been like, and I just opened the door, and there's just people going, I love Christmas, and I'm going, no, I want to go home, and I want everyone to be not here.
So we're in a situation where you've got these freshers who have just started, they're all starting their art courses now and doing all that sort of thing. So essentially in 3 years, they're going to be in the same position we're in. Where they're in Lincoln. Yep. They're like, I want to do something. Everyone at Lincoln for 3 years has told them to go to London, because that's going to happen. That just won't change. No. That's just, sorry, Lincoln. But yeah. So essentially what we need to think of is a way in which they can spend 3 years to make something. So at the end of that, there's an art scene.
Yes. I want to do a talk about this. Okay. Lincoln, right, if you think about other cities and you go Edinburgh, you go Fringe. Yeah. And you go, I'm trying to think of another one, Venice, Biennial, is that, yeah? New York. Yeah. These cities, artistically speaking, have like an energy and a feeling and a personality that you can immediately tap into. When you say Lincoln, nothing happens. And everyone goes, that's terrible. It's like, no, that's incredible. An artist wants a big blank room with all the wallpaper stripped off that they can put anything in. Yep. Lincoln is like metaphorically, cosmically, spiritually that. It's a tabula rasa where we can do anything we fucking want right now. And there's all these students that are coming in, they've got all these really cool, really wicked ideas. Yep. Rent's cheaper than London, it's going to be cheaper than any other place they're going to go to. Get a crappy Werner Herzog it, get a crappy job as a bouncer at a sex club, as to quote him, and get your shitty flat and make some cool shit. And if you all stay long enough, this isn't going to be a turnover of a year or 2 years. This is a 5-year, then we're going to see some effect now thing. But you've got all these students coming in, and if they all want to make shit, I'll happily help them make shit however I can. I want to work with more filmmakers. I've got loads of short films that I can't make because I don't know them. We've got a new space called the Blue Room. End of April, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the end of April. It's above Stokes on the lawns. Okay. This guy called Steve Gillard's just taken over and said, I want stuff in it. Like, that's his plan. I want stuff in it. So we're putting on our own theatre, little short half-hour performances in there. And hopefully we do that every 2 months if the first one goes well. So fingers crossed I can get bums on seats for that one. But I just want to go, have you written a thing? Let's put the thing in there. Let's just do that. Because if I can get enough people that stay And if they do leave and then come back with something.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
That's going to help.
But I think for me, it's the fact that there isn't an answer is brilliant. Like, everyone wants why am I staying in Lincoln?
Yep.
Why don't you decide that? Because you can now. If you go to Edinburgh, you've got to do Fringe. If you go to London, you've got to find a studio space with an artist and become his intern and do the thing. If you want to be in film, you've got to be a runner and go up through the ranks, become a researcher and work for Jonathan Ross for 40 million years. They're your other plans. Lincoln, it's choose, pick it.
Do what you want. Yeah. I think that's a good message. I think that's essentially what we're looking at. Rather than promoting to students that you need to go and do something else, or that you can fit and make a new plan. That's essentially the problem with Lincoln. It lauds itself as this innovation. Of like, that's the highest thing in the minute, is tech and it's innovation. It's like, oh, we're this tech university, and it's like, that's great. Go with that, run with that. But you need to teach your students that it's not that Lincoln's innovative, it's that they can be innovative and that they can actually start something.
Exactly.
It's like, it's quite easy in Lincoln, as you're saying, like, rent's cheap, it's cheap to live here, like, you can get by on very little, so you just take that and use everything else you've got into something else.
And then the other thing, like, I did like a graduate talk. No, I didn't do the graduate talk thing. I went to one of the Meet the Graduates things, and there was a group of guys on the panel, and I knew a few of them, and then me and a guy called Matt Gamble, who makes games now, we were sat on the front row. And we're doing the Q&A, and the student goes, how do you find time to do the things you do? Like, I've got my dissertation, and I've got this. And they're all giving, like, their answers about, like, time management. And I just go, can I just say a thing? And they're like, yeah. It's like, how many nights out do you go on?
Yeah.
About 3. Okay, now you go out 2 nights a week.
Yeah.
Now you have time.
I think that's a crazy thing of students, of, like, you see so many doing nothing. And then they're like, why haven't I got time to do things? And, like, you're in a prime situation right now. I mean, I worked through uni because I had to pay for things. And it's like, you were in a situation, even though I was working, where you have so much free time.
Yeah.
And if you spend even like 10% of that free time just making one project and pushing that for 3 years, at the end of that, you're going to have something great.
Yeah.
You know, even if you spend an hour a day for 3 years doing it, you'd have a feature film.
And for those that don't need to work, and that, like, I was in a position where I was just given the student loans and everything. And the one thing I regret is I did not waste that money on just making things I wanted to make. I was still in the school mentality. I need to get a good grade, and the good grade will get me the good job, and then the good job will get me and I got to the end of it and went, wait a minute, I was just given free money for 3 years that I don't ever need to pay back because I'm an artist and I'm never going to make enough. So I could have just taken that and just gone, we're going to make a film, guys. What about dissertation? Screw that, I'm going to make a really cool film and still go to the seminars and the lectures to learn the knowledge, but not necessarily apply it to a really cool grade at the end. Get at least a 2.2 or 2.1 just to pass you by so that people don't think you're an idiot, and then just whack out the coolest thing that you could ever make. Because after uni, you're not going to have that time. You're not going to be able to do that. Just make cool shit is like, if I had to narrow down my manifesto from like curating, if I had to like produce stuff in collaborative environments, get space and do the art, like if I had to just like strip all the bullshit out, it's make cool shit, and then that's it. That's the end of it.
I think that's a great point to end on. It's like, don't worry and just make cool shit. Magic. Well, thank you, Nath.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
And it's been interesting meeting you for the first time.
Yeah. I have a feeling this is going to keep talking after.